WHCI, are we good to go? We are all set on our end. Great. Okay, today is Monday, June 28th, 2021. And the virtual meeting and public hearing will come to order of the West Hartford Historic District Commission.
I don't know how to do speaker.
Good evening, I am Michael Margolis, and I'd like to welcome you to tonight's virtual special meeting and public hearing. The legal notice for the public hearing and the agenda for the special meeting are available on the town's website. The legal notice for the public hearing contains specific call-in numbers for those members of the public who wish to comment on any application before the commission. Because in-person attendance at public meetings is likely to increase the risk of transmission of COVID-19, this hearing is being conducted in accordance with Governor Lamont's Executive Order number 7B. Commissioners and town staff are participating by WebEx, and members of the public can view the meeting live on West Hartford Community Television or on West Hartford Community Interactive Comcast Channel 5 and Frontier Channel 6098, or at www.whctv.org. The meeting is also being recorded for on-demand viewing, which will be available on the town's website. Because of the virtual format, there are some special rules and procedures that I need to cover before I begin. First, I ask all participants to please mute your devices when you are not speaking. If you wish to be recognized, please raise your hand and I will call on you. If you are participating via audio only or I do not call on you and the debate is ending, then please unmute your phone and let me know so that I can recognize you. Second, I would like to describe how the hand raising process will work. Unfortunately, our conference technology does not allow us to identify individual callers by name. So when the public comment portion of the meeting begins, the moderator will randomly unmute one call in line and ask everyone to say their name at the same time. The voice that we hear will belong to the person whose line is unmuted, and that person will then be recognized by the moderator and asked to restate their name and provide their street address. We will repeat this process until we have unmuted every phone line. It is very important that you say your name each time you are prompted by the moderator. If the moderator unmutes a phone line and does not hear a voice after the prompt, that phone line will be removed from the conference. If you have called in and are also streaming the meeting on YouTube or watching on TV, please silence your other device when you speak. Otherwise, there will be an echo because there is a slight delay in the TV and streaming broadcast. Third, pursuant to Governor Lamont's Executive Order 7B, all speakers must state their name and title each time they speak. Fourth, because of the difficulty in tallying voice votes on a video conference, I will require that all votes be taken by roll. I will now call the roll. Each commissioner must identify themselves with their name and then respond as here or present. Commissioner Cormier is not here. Commissioner Howard?
Commissioner Howard is present.
Thank you. Commissioner Lewis?
Commissioner Lewis present.
Commissioner Tarutin?
Commissioner Tarutin is present.
Thank you. Commissioner Margolis, I am also present. Commissioner Franson is not present. Commissioner Harris, I know, is not present. And Commissioner Schwartz.
Commissioner Schwartz is present.
Thank you. So for the purpose of this meeting, we will seat 5 commissioners: Howard, Lewis, Tarutin, Margolis, and Schwartz. First order of business is a request to waive the 90-day demolition delay for 111 Outlook Avenue, also known as 125 Kingswood Road, by Christopher Stefanowicz of Haz-Pros. They were invited to the meeting, but I do not believe they are present. Is anyone here from Haz-Pros? All right, so commissioners, I did send you information about this piece of property. We did hear from Jenny Schofield of the State Historic Preservation Office. who says, in terms of this house, I would consider it part of the campus, and the house or campus is not currently designated. So if it is not designated, then we don't have any power over the demolition, especially if they're using private funds. So I did send you all a picture. The house is the very last house on Outlook Avenue before you get to Kingswood School on the west side of the road. It was for many years occupied by the head of building and grounds for the school, and that gentleman passed away about 10 years ago. It's been uninhabited since then. My contact at the school tells me that it's full of asbestos, and they are just looking to tear it down. It's basically demolition by neglect. So it's in quite rough shape right now, even though it was a pretty house from the 1930s at one point. So do we have any comments on this? I'll remind you all, we basically have two choices on this. Because the house is over 50 years old and over 500 square feet, there is a demolition permit in with the town, and they have to wait 90 days in order to demolish that that structure. We have the opportunity to waive that and give them a 30-day demolition delay rather than 90 days. If we do not act on that, they still have full right to tear the house down after waiting the 90 days. Commissioners, any questions or comments on this? All right, hearing no questions or comments, I make a motion to waive the 90-day demolition delay for 111 Outlook Avenue, also known as 125 Kingswood Road, by Christopher Stefanowicz of Haz-Pros. Do I have a second?
Commissioner Howard, I second.
I have a second. Let's have a vote. Commissioner Howard?
Vote, we can waive, it's a shame, but we can waive the wait.
Thank you. Commissioner Lewis?
Commissioner Lewis, I approve the waiver.
Thank you. Commissioner Tarutin?
Commissioner Tarutin, I approve the waiver.
Commissioner Margolis, I also approve the waiver, and Commissioner Schwartz.
Commissioner Schwartz, I approve the waiver as well.
All right, so item number 2 on our agenda passes unanimously. Item number 3, certificate of appropriateness for 1560. I wrote 1564 Boulevard, but something tells me it's 1563 Boulevard, submitted by homeowner Katherine Doyle for installation of mini split air conditioner heat pump. Mrs. Doyle, are you on with us? I know you were at one point. All right, I do not hear Mrs. Doyle. Mr. Chase, would you unmute yourself, please?
Yes, I just did.
Thank you. So I haven't heard this from Mrs. Lewis, excuse me, Mrs. Doyle, but Mr. Chase tells me that Mrs. Doyle has asked him to describe her project to us. Would you go ahead and do that, please, Mr. Chase?
Sure. Graham Chase, neighbor of Kate's. Yeah, when Kate signed the contract with High Grade Mechanics for the installation of the mini heat pumps, the ground was frozen and covered in snow. Fast forward to March 27th, the date of installation. Spring thaw happened, and the intended site had turned into an area of very soft ground with standing water. The certified HVAC installer deemed the backyard site unsuitable, as stated in the original COA dated March 30th, and determined the site of the house a safe location. Kate, not being trained in HVAC installation, relied on the installer's expertise. These heat pumps are connected to the house with hard copper lines, and if installed in the original plan, if the unit was to shift or sink, these copper lines could break, releasing Freon into the atmosphere. The existing plantings and bushes pretty much hid the street, as you can see from the 3 pictures labeled before. Mike, you have those pictures, or do they have those pictures?
All the commissioners received them in their email, yes.
And we then planted 2 arborvitaes, and as you can see from the 3 pictures labeled after, the unit pretty much is invisible, and as these arborvitaes grow this summer, the unit should completely disappear.
Mrs. Doyle, do I see that you have called in?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we hear you just fine. Just one quick question for you. Did you want Mr. Graham Chase to speak on your behalf?
Yes, I did. That's exactly what I was going to say if I could have gotten in. Yes, I
Okay.
would like, yes.
Fine. Thank you very much. I just needed to hear that from you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioners, any questions for Mrs. Doyle or Mr. Chase speaking on her behalf? So I will say something. Looking at our handbook, which, as you all know, this is how we judge everything. My first thought was that landscaping is an item not requiring a COA, and that therefore landscaping would not be a good excuse for hiding the heat pump. But on the same page where it says that landscaping is not a good excuse, it shows 2 figures, and it says the shaded areas are considered visible from the street unless otherwise obscured by fencing or landscaping. So my opinion, while I'm not really thrilled with the permanence of landscaping, because I feel that if the arborvitae dies over the winter, there won't be anything shielding the heat pump from the street. I do feel personally that the handbook is pretty clear that being obscured by landscaping is allowable as a block to be not visible from the street.
Yeah, Mike, just one comment. These arborvitaes are warranted from Home Depot for 1 year, and there's no salt that's going to be getting on these. So if they do expire over the winter, we can take them back, and Home Depot will replace them so we can keep the shielding in place with replacement plants.
Thank you. I mean, I think we all understand that. I guess, you know, my concern is a long-term concern that they die 5 years from now, or Mrs. Doyle sells the house and the next person decides he doesn't like arborvitaes, and now we've got a heat pump completely visible from the boulevard. That's my concern. But again, I would say that the handbook is pretty clear that if the heat pump is obscured by landscaping, then it is considered not visible from the street. So I guess as long as we can have some sort of a commitment from Mrs. Doyle that she'll make sure that that the heat pump is obscured from the street, personally, I would be okay with this.
I would
Yeah.
certainly, sure.
Yeah, and Mike, this is Commissioner Lewis. I'm right across the street, and I was actually over there talking with Kate just the other week after those arborvitae were in there, and those things are provide a really good screen. They appear to be growing vigorously, and they seem to be doing a really good job.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. I did take a drive by a couple of days ago, and realistically, you just can't see the heat pump from the street. So, commissioners, any other questions or comments for Mrs. Doyle or Mr. Chase? All right, hearing no further questions or comments, let's see. I would like to invite Corinnepreet to speak. Mrs. Preet, would you kindly state your name and address?
Corinnepreet, 1566 Boulevard. I'm right next door to Mrs. Doyle.
Thank you.
So I guess when she was first denied, I was surprised because the unit is really, it's not completely visible from the street. It's not an eyesore, so to speak. It's in the back corner of the property that is somewhat shielded before the arborvitaes. And so I was kind of surprised, like, why is that even an issue? And then I guess my other issue is that she's only cooling part of her house. If she decides to cool the other half of her house or 3/4 of her house, would that be an issue, being on the other side if she put arborvitaes? I mean, it just seems like it's a heating, cooling, it's kind of a health requirement that in this day and age, where many people on this street in the historic district already have air conditioning units or splits located on the side of their house. And you don't really notice it unless you're looking for it, which I, went up and down the street looking because I find it, it's not really offensive to look at. I just, you would rather worry about the arborvitaes dying in 5 years than having a historic property that could well be within their rights to have portable air conditioning units hanging out of the front of every window in their house. Like, I don't see the rationale in that, because that certainly wouldn't be very historic, but it certainly would be allowed, and you would not need a certificate of appropriateness to hang a unit out of your window. And then the other thing is, if certain standards are met already in the handbook, why do we need to apply for a certificate? For example, like stockade fencing, it's wood, it's visible, but it's wood. So why do you have to wait the 30 days to go through the certificate of appropriateness if it will certainly be approved because it meets the standards? So I just had those couple questions that I thought the commissioner or commissioners could answer.
So I'll be happy to answer your questions, and the other commissioners can chime in if they wish. Ultimately, we are guided by our handbook, and the handbook does say that if there are any, I'm paraphrasing, I don't have it in front of me, but if there are any changes that are permanent changes, such as an air conditioning condenser that are visible from the street, it's our job as members of the Historic District Commission to preserve the, I'm not sure it's a word, but the historicness of the district. And that includes permanent structures and not unpermanent things. You can paint your house purple and we don't have any say about that because paint is temporary. But a mini split condenser is not temporary. It's permanent. It's attached to the house. And so we have domain over that. We have domain over fences. And that's what was given to us as a commission when the handbook was written. So each property is a separate entity, and just because I don't know what one has a brick sidewalk doesn't mean that we would necessarily approve a brick sidewalk for every house or whatever other kind of permanent structure there might be, bay windows or I don't know what. So each property is unique, and as such, each property does have to go through the certificate of appropriateness process for any permanent changes.
So let me just ask you, if the arborvitaes were there when she put in the unit and you could not see it from the street, would you still need the certificate?
I would say no, because
Okay.
our certificate only covers what is visible from the street.
Okay.
That's my interpretation of the handbook. Of course, I would want to run that past the town attorney, but I believe had she put up the arborvitae and then put up the mini split, we might not be having this conversation.
Okay. It's fair. Is there any way of knowing what neighbor complained or what commissioner complained?
I don't believe there was ever a complaint.
Oh, well,
There was,
how would the building department know that?
Well, there was a building permit that was taken
Right.
out for the mini split, and that automatically triggers an email to the Historic District Commission because it's a property inside a district. That's true for a mini split or a roof or new windows or anything that requires a permit for any house in the Boulevard District, the West Hill District, the Buena Vista District, or any of the individually listed properties in town. So there wasn't a complaint. It's just an automatic trigger that this work would require a certificate.
But it was for the back of the house originally.
That's correct.
So-
It was for the back of the house, and
So it would not have required a certificate.
that's correct, except for it wasn't installed in the back of the house because the contractor told me that Mrs. Doyle asked for it to be put on the side of the house.
That
But-
is correct, but I want to know how that got back to the historic district.
Well, I guess you can blame me for that, Commissioner Margolis, because I asked the town where would the mini split condenser be installed, and I was given a hand-drawn map by the contractor who said that it would be at the back of the
Right.
house. At which point I said, if it's at the back of the house, then we're fine with that. We don't need a COA. And instead, it was installed on the side of the house. And the contractor told me that it was installed on the side of the house because Mrs. Doyle didn't like the way it would look out her window.
Well, it wasn't the way it would look. There was water that puddled there. So there was a reason more than just aesthetics.
I understand that that's water under the bridge. We've been through that in the last
Right.
2 meetings, but ultimately a COA was required because it was not installed at the rear of the house where it would not have been visible.
I just, so anything that's covered by landscaping then, that's not visible from the sidewalk is okay. Am I correct in understanding that?
I would not say that. I would say that's a question for the town attorney. If you'd like, we can forward that question to the town attorney for her ruling of the handbook. But in this case, again, each house is individual. In this case, because the hardware is no longer visible from the street, we're going to have a vote, and we'll see how the other 4 commissioners feel about whether we're going to pass or decline this certificate.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. WHCI, do we have any other members of the public online with us? I do not believe we do. All right, hearing no reply from them, I would like to make a motion that we accept the certificate of appropriateness 1564 Boulevard submitted by homeowner Katherine Doyle for installation of mini split air conditioner heat pump. Do I have a second?
Commissioner Lewis, a second.
Okay, and Commissioner Howard, how do you vote?
I vote to approve.
Thank you. Commissioner Lewis?
I vote to approve.
Thank you. Commissioner Tarutin?
I vote to approve.
Thank you. Commissioner Margolis, I also vote to approve. And Commissioner Schwartz.
And I also vote to approve.
Excellent. So Mrs. Doyle, your certificate has been approved. I will notify the building department either tonight or tomorrow morning. And thank you for your participation and wish you good luck with your project.
Thank you very much, and thank you for all the time that you guys had to put into this. I
Yes, ma'am.
apologize.
Don't apologize. It's what we do. So thank you very much. Mrs. Doyle, Mrs. Preet, Mr. Chase, you guys are welcome to stay on if you'd like, or you're welcome to drop off. I would just ask you to mute yourselves if you do stay on.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Agenda item number 4, approval of minutes of the May 24th meeting. I did send out a link to all of you for that meeting. Those present were Commissioners Howard, Lewis, Margolis, Tarutin, and Schwartz, same 5 as today. Does anyone have comments on the minutes from the May 24th meeting? Hearing no comments, I make a motion to accept the minutes as published for the May 24th meeting. Do I have a second?
Commissioner Tarutin, I'll second.
Thank you. Commissioner Howard, how do you vote?
I vote to approve.
Thank you. Commissioner Lewis?
I'm Commissioner Lewis. I vote to approve.
Thank you. Commissioner Tarutin?
Commissioner Tarutin, I vote to approve.
Thank you. Commissioner Margolis, I also vote to approve. Commissioner Schwartz?
I vote to approve.
Thank you. The minutes as published will become final for the May 24th, 2021 meeting. Commissioners' concerns and comments. Does anyone have anything to discuss? I have a couple of things, but I'll let you all go first if there's something on your mind. So the first thing I'll say is that we do have approval from the town to start in July with in-person meetings. Yes, I see clapping of hands. So I don't yet have an understanding of how that will work, if it means that all of us will be present, if we have to wear masks inside town hall, even if you're vaccinated. I don't have any details, but you can plan on July 26th. We will be meeting in person rather than over WebEx. Anyone else have anything to discuss? So I do have one other item. Early this morning, I submitted my resignation from the West Hartford Historic District Commission to the town clerk. I thank you all for your help. It's been a great 5+ years that I've been chair, but I've got some other irons in the fire, and as much as I've enjoyed this, I'm sorry to say it won't be able to continue for me anymore. So thank you all for your kind help and support over all these years.
Really sorry to hear it, Mike.
Yeah.
Well,
It's our loss
Thank
as
you.
far as I'm concerned.
thank you. I'm not looking for condolences or anything like that. I have a new Monday evening at 7 o'clock commitment that I just can't participate in 2 things. So,
No, I'm sorry for us, not you.
well, if we continued at a 5 o'clock WebEx, I could put it together still, but I don't think that's going to be possible. So, all right. Does anyone else have other comments or concerns? In that case, it is 5:31 p.m. and I adjourn the meeting. Thank you all for participating.
Thank you.
Thank
Good night.
you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.